Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Norik Kocharian here, and I want to welcome you that you're tuning in to Perform at Your Peak podcast. It's the podcast where we share a lot about the mindset, the insights, and a powerful content. And today, I'm joined with Adam Kemp. Adam is a professional basketball player, currently playing in Sokół Łańcut in Poland. Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, you know, it's the case of the little guy in the team invites the big guy, the biggest guy, the tower, and it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you because I know how professionally you get into everything you do and how important is the right preparation for you. So I appreciate your time. I know we're in the middle of the season and we just came off the Christmas break, and I know you have obviously plans how you want to perform during the next game and the following games, and how important it is for you to rest. And I hope we will fulfill the people who will watch and listen to this podcast with powerful content. So Adam, your career has been quite crazy. Like if you look at it, because you know you started in America, obviously, but then right after college, as you said to me before, you went to Macedonia. How did you find being so young as well, traveling and being away from home, but still doing what you love?
I would say I was fortunate that, if we go back a little bit further, when I left high school, instead of going directly to college, I went to a prep school for a year in Massachusetts, and it was a prep boarding school that had its history going back, let's say 200 years or so. It was like a reform school, so it was incredibly strict. So my first experience of getting out of the house and going, let's say, away from my parents, live on my own, was to go into the woods in Massachusetts and live for a year with a incredibly difficult basketball coach, difficult basketball situation. And the school itself was prideful for how strict they were in terms of, I had to wear a suit and tie every day, make my room up every day, all these types of things. So this helped me obviously when I got to college, and especially when I left college as well. When I went overseas, obviously it was a big change, totally different country, language barriers, these things. But I'm definitely fortunate that this experience I had when I came out of high school and stepped away from my parents for this, I learned a lot of self-discipline, and that these just types of habits and things like this I feel like have carried me so far, and especially made my ability to leave, go from leaving home to go to live in a different country, just made this transition easier to have a lot of good habits to rely on, I'd say. From
the moment, the first moment we met, I found you quite, well, not quite really, open-minded for culture, new people. But obviously being an athlete, to build a trust with somebody takes a bit of a time. And in the past we even discussed about it, it takes a bit of a moment until it clicks that, hold on a second, this is the right person to talk to. And being really across different countries, because, as you said, Macedonia overseas, now you're in Poland, you've been in Bulgaria as well. You've obviously learned different cultures, different insights. How do you find yourself so easily to adopt to the certain, leagues in the countries?
I think, a huge part of this would be how is like my mother. She's always preached to me about just being a good, I don't want to use the word ambassador, like is too strong a word or something like that, but the way that I like to present myself and the way that I like to meet people and go about things is I'm not only, I feel how I represent myself, my family, my country, and these types of things. So when I first started to come over here, I wanted to, even if it's like on the smallest level, just show, give a representation of my country, my family, myself, and when I take things like that, it allows me, I guess, to be more receptive, because I get myself immersed in learning about other people, other, you know, whether their food. I'm not great with language, unfortunately, but, you know, through food and drink, I can learn a lot about people's cultures, and I've done that all over the world, I can say.
Well, you're getting there with Polish.
Yeah,
so, you know, Poland
yeah.
is you know, really the country that you've been the longest overseas. But you used the word ambassador, and you said it's too big. I wouldn't say it's too big, because it takes one person's bad act to sort of describe the entire population, country, or whatever. And, you know, why not reverse it, you know, and make it, you can be the ambassador for a person from America who can represent himself, the country, the family in different country in the most positive way. Because, you know, as I said, from the very, very first meeting we had, I've only heard a positive feedback about yourself, and the moment we spoke for the first time, and since that it's really a history already, so you know, and it's absolutely great. You have a degree in the sport communication, and I think there's something to do with a bit of a psychology as well, and your interest in psychology and, you know, in mindset, the way we discuss a lot of times, it's huge. You know, I can describe it like a sponge. You're really attracted to it because you know the power of it. Where is that coming from? Where's that interest coming from?
It all revolves around the fact that I wouldn't be doing any of this if I didn't take a huge interest in many aspects of peak performance, if that makes sense. It was when I was younger, I have probably some of the worst asthma like available, to the point where when I was 8, 9 years old, several doctors told me I should never play sports. Like, you know, so, and I just loved it. I love sports. At that point I hadn't decided it was going to be basketball. I just knew, you know, I wanted to just be around sports, be in sports. And over time, as I decided that, you know, and I learned about who I was going to have to compete with in this world if I wanted to go anywhere with sports, it made me become very interested in other ways that I can improve myself. I was always relatively good academically and things like this, but when, you know, I started to learn about the power of the mind is just another way that I can, you know, try to add on points that I knew I had already been minused at the beginning because I can't breathe.
But there's still quite a big number of athletes, especially that because they can't see the mind, they don't really believe in the power of the mind. And, you know, how did you convince yourself that that's the area that you need to look into?
Well, that's what I'm kind of saying. It's not exactly, you know, it's not the only one. It's because for me, I've had to tune nutrition with strength training in the mind, breath work, you know, all like there's several amounts of things. And obviously one thing that makes learning about all those other things easier is improving your mindset to, you know, the highest point possible. And for me, someone who has to, in my opinion, I have to put in more work just because I know my situation with breathing. My parents told me my whole life, hey, if you don't want to put the work in, don't do it, because you have every excuse to give up whenever you want to, you know. And so when I began to learn more about the power of the mind, ways that I can adapt my mind to just become better at picking your brain every chance that I get, you know, this helps me with all the other things that I do need to focus and learn and stay consistent with and, you know, build habits on and stuff. And so that's like the head of the snake, you know, that's the mind, and that allows all this other stuff that I do to be possible. And
it's the actual area that fails the most. It's not even the physical side of it, isn't it? You said there about your parents' words that, you know, you have every possible reason, you know, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. But then I think by being very intelligent athlete, but also a person, you know that leaving it, giving up on it, it just sort of allows you to reach another challenge and really fail if you already gave up on one aspect of it. how do you tackle challenges? So every one of us has some kind of challenge in our life and sports. During the game, there's freaking many challenges.
Yeah.
How do you go by to tackle that challenge, to not give up, to keep going, to keep pushing, to wake up next day and go in, you know what, here's a new day, I need to do something about it?
Oh, I can tell you, well, I mean, I can show you, it starts when you wake up. Like you can see on I don't know if the camera, these are the numbers that I see every day when I wake up, because I know when I go to those numbers in a game, my team is going to win. So it starts from, and this is my in-season one, I have an out-of-season one. It starts from when I wake up. How I tackle challenges is, I game plan for them. I know in the morning, I might not want to wake up, but if I wake up and see, this note on the phone, okay, I'm up, I'm out, and then, and I have systems in place, systems that have set up habits for myself that are generally enough foolproof that have allowed me to push past hard things. It's, there's physical habits that are you do yoga before bed and some breath work. And then there's mental habits about mantras and, like we have together, So it's a combination of all these things. And really it's just a general life game plan for tackling challenges. And it's trying to set up as many positive habits as possible to make the challenges smaller, not bigger.
So would you say, because the one thing I can read out from your basically current performance as well, and describing what habits you have and how you tackle the challenge, that the key role in that is the self-discipline.
Absolutely.
If you don't have it, what's going to happen? If you wouldn't have the self-discipline, what would you say to somebody who doesn't have that self-discipline, who doesn't want to have? What would they lose, or what they losing?
I think they would have no really understanding of what they are losing or what they could have lost. And the main thing I would say is to, first of all, find at least one thing that you care enough about that you have to be disciplined to have that in your life. And then, or have somebody that's just so strong they're going to beat self-discipline to you. That's maybe not the most long-term effective, but sometimes it's just, what some people need is that, a structured figure. But, just without a level of self-discipline that, you're doing the right things when no one else is around, in the simplest way to say it. But without that, you are going to miss out. You're going to lose out on things, and this type of things that you probably don't even know exist yet for you.
Yeah, the way I always describe it is, if you just focus on discipline itself, then most of the times you'll be, let's just call it, addicted from someone or something. But if you have a self-discipline, you are an authority for your own self. And you will give yourself an order and you will take it. And I think it's one of the most important key to success. Whatever level and however you want to describe the success. Now, speaking about that, I hear a lot of appreciation for what you've already built. How you perceive a lot of things in your life. And last season, I remember we were speaking about how I start my day with a type of a routine that I put the gratitude for everything I have, thank you for morning coffee and things like this. And through the years, speaking to a lot of successful athletes or successful people from different area, they said that gratitude is a key. And do you believe in that? Do you believe that being grateful for currently what you have at that right moment is important?
Yeah, I think it's important, if not critical, because that's what keeps so much of this anxiety, this stress, this just things that weighs on you. You can shed them immediately when you start to you learn this sense of gratitude. And I have this that you gave me so I can keep track, and I'm still doing this, maybe not every single night, but I love to come back to it. And sometimes, I will do it like this. I'm for, the everyday things. And then sometimes, it might be a specific thing from this day that like, wow, that was like awesome. Obviously, I'm going to write that down today. Or sometimes, I try to dig a little deeper, what's something that, what's maybe it was a silver lining of the day, it wasn't exactly like a great day or a great situation, but I am, today for this. But I think, learning that sense of gratitude, of course, you're going to want more in other ways, and wanting more is natural and good. It keeps you from, becoming lazy and complacent, but having gratitude for especially the everyday things around you, the things that the world has offered to you, is just incredibly important, just to keeping like a fresh, happy mindset.
Can I tell you something powerful?
Sure.
Are you ready for it?
Always.
Always ready. That's the one. Because we went really too serious about things, and it sounded like we were talking about serious and having that serious conversation. But I'll tell you something very powerful.
Yep.
One of the biggest killers when it comes to the mindset is that part of overthinking. You start thinking about things before they even happen.
Yeah.
And you don't analyze them as they are because you don't have any argument, you don't have any proof. You're analyzing them as they were before, or comparing yourself to somebody the way they maybe perform at the moment. It's like, we're going to play against a strong team. Well, how do you know that? Why? Because they won a certain number of the games? No, it doesn't matter. You're starting the game from the scratch. Now, the one thing that can very quickly stop overthinking is a gratitude. Because if you go too far ahead, pull in too many things from the past, but you say, you know what, but I'm grateful that I'm here. So what are you focused on? At the moment.
At the moment.
And there's nothing more important at that right, situation. So when I describe the gratitude, the way you describe it, beautiful. And I love the way you said, I do my daily, and then I also do the other stuff when something really nice also happens. I want to make sure I appreciate that. But a lot of people don't get that, don't get the idea of it, because the gratitude is really linked to religion. It feels like that. It feels like you're praying for something, or, some people would say, oh, you have to be appreciative afterwards if something happens. Well, that can do, everyone can do that.
Yeah.
But being appreciative and grateful for what you already have, no matter what's going to happen next, that's the power, isn't it? But that comes to the attitude. And when you think about the attitude, it sounds like a strong word. What's the attitude for you? What does that? What's the meaning of the attitude for you? So when you think about sports, right, you have to have a certain type of attitude. So what's the meaning of the attitude for you?
For me, it's dream chasing. That's what it is. Because
love that.
Really what I'm doing is just chasing the same dream that I had since I was 3-5 years old, when I had got my first Little Tykes basketball hoop or whatever, and it's still, I still take, this is my 10th year, and I take every day like that, I know how easily I could have never had even one season of playing professional, never could have even got a college scholarship to play basketball. I know how close I was to being in that situation, and just every day, of course, like some days I'm more stressed because of a game and, something will wear me down, wear me out a little bit or something like this, but every single day in this attitude is, if we're going to say one thing about attitude that's can describe my personal attitude towards sport and all of this, it's chasing dreams, because I do it because I want to follow my dream, and that's why I still do it every day.
Yeah, because the reason I asked you about the attitude is because most of the times we either hear somebody has a good or bad attitude. But I think it should be more like an average attitude or no attitude at all. But still, there is some attitude when you have no attitude, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's melancholic.
Exactly. But when you think about, goals, you can't think average about your own goals. You have to think, as you said, sort of that champion level attitude, right? Within the attitude, you have your thoughts, so the way you think, your emotions, and you probably remember how many times I've said to the entire team, be smart with your emotions. That's your most precious thing. And then you have your actions and results, right? That's all combined together. So your thoughts, emotions, actions, and results, those are your attitude. So when you think about that, the top level, so the master level of attitude, so thinking about your best performances and focusing on that, and still thinking after 10 years, you said, here we go, keeping the whole idea going. How often have you been challenged by your own self when it comes to your thoughts? Am I going to do it, or am I not? Is it going to happen, or it's not going to happen? How does that ever happen?
I think there's been a few times where I said, I don't know if I can continue to put the work in that makes me satisfied with the result that I'm getting out of what I'm doing. But any day when I woke up and knew that even if I didn't want to, I could force my body to go to whatever it was I had to do that day, I never doubted myself. But there's been maybe 3-ish, I think, if I can remember, like just days when some things had gone bad, like maybe, with clubs or something like that, plus the body wasn't going. I just kind of remember, I don't know if I can get my body to do it. But as long as I could drag myself out of the bed to the first cup of coffee or whatever it was, and then I knew I could do it every day.
It's that first step, isn't it?
It's yeah.
But see, this is the thing. A lot of times when it happens to us, we think nobody else is experiencing it, and then it hits you that you hear that somebody else was challenged like that, somebody else, and I think it gets to the point that we so much focused on that success that we will rather some of us will take rather a single success instead of progress. What would you choose? Progress and moving towards your dreams and goals, not necessarily knowing you're gonna get it, but having that consistency over months, years, whatever time, or that one-off success.
I think let's say maybe we have to quantify a little bit what the one-off success is versus where a little bit, but
see, this is
but in general, I strongly believe that that's one of the things that wakes me up every day is I can make a little bit of progress today. And I've had high times in career, low times, this, that, but just being able to wake up and know I can get a little bit better today. I can get a little bit stronger today. I can work on this one thing that I never tried before, and just being able to know that I can still make these like little bits of progress and chase those progress to see where it ends up. And so far it's taken me 10 years down the road. So I'm really...
However, between which progress and what would have to happen as a success that you would pick the success over the progress?
Well, if you gave me a first-year NBA contract, the rookie deal, and said that's the highest you'll ever get to, and then...
So would you call that as a success?
I would call that a good financial situation.
Fine, yeah.
But it would be less fulfilling. So if you're saying like, okay, let's say, you got like 1 or 2 years, whatever, like the very beginning of your career, like in the NBA, and you got this money. Like, okay, I can say maybe, you know, just for what I would be able to do for my family and these type of things, like, okay, maybe in that situation I'll be a little bit selfless and take the, you know, the bigger success right in the beginning than rather something that grinds out without a specific known ending, if that makes sense. But
the way I got to this question was about 10 years ago, one of the athletes in the club that I was coaching wrestling, he said to me, every day and every way he would choose that one-off success over any progress. And my question was, okay, so let's get the idea. You have, let's say, that one single situation of the success, but you don't learn anything. You just experience that moment of glory.
yeah,
And then that's gone. Because it's only on that day, maybe for a few more weeks, that financial is good, I understand it. But then you don't learn anything. You don't really experience anything for the future, and you're left with nothing. When you focus on the progress on the whole way through, you learn something that perfectly describes the sentence I heard possibly 15 years ago when I was with my first mentor, and one of the guys in the room said, "Oh, I want to be like him." And he turned around and said, instead of saying you want to be like him, because then you describe current results, say you want to learn to have or be like him. Because not only are you going to learn that, but you're also going to learn your own way. And that's very powerful.
yeah,
So thinking about that, I realized that the one thing I need to focus on is, instead of chasing somebody else's values, knowledge, and things like this, is go back to your own values. So your life, personal values. So this is a question to you. What would be the set of values that you follow?
the first is a moral life.
Okay.
Moral life.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's, let's say, and morals, let's say, in my opinion, I take some from church, like from this set, and then other from like natural law theory, kind of. So I would say values, first would be to live a moral life. And then after that, I value self-discipline. I value courage. I value leadership.
Very nice.
Trying to think of if there's one more I can throw in there that's really like, because I'll play maybe not specifically even how you're thinking of those things, but they kind of combine to me in a very specific way.
The way you describe the moral life is great. What I'm really interested in is, what means being a leader, because I sort of, you went through some values and then you stopped with the leader.
Yeah.
What means leader for you? It's brilliant, and I can't wait to hear we can't really say description. It's more like who's the leader for you? It's
leadership. That's why I put it in to my list of one of the most important values is because there's several types of leaders, and I know what type of leader I can't be, but I also know what type of leader I can be, and I try to live that way as much as possible every day. When someone meets me, sees me on the street, comes to practice, sees what I do before, after practice, just in the basketball sense, but when they just see me walk on the street or see me in the grocery store or something like this, I believe that it's the responsibility of people who can lead to lead in the way that they can lead, if that makes sense. There's vocal leaders, there's people who are great at delegating responsibility, there's these different types of things, but I know the one thing that I can do in my life is I can lead by example, by trying to make friends with every person I see, not in some incredibly extroverted way, but just, in a general lead by, bringing people together through this type of closeness, these type of things, by just setting a good example for the world around me. So that's why I'd say that's one of the things that I most value. And the people that do lead in a good way, whether it's the way that I can do it or in another way, I respect and value these people who lead positively. I
still remember the day we were in Austria last season, and I sort of, I was going through my head thinking just before the game, before we had a video before the game, what am I going to say to the guys in the room? And usually you take a spot close to me, and that day you sat at the very end of that meeting room.
Yeah. And
I had a feeling that you were there to just observe what is going to happen. And I remember I came up with, well, this is what I wanted to say, and this is what I wanted to say, and this is what I wanted to say. And I said, none of those things will make any sense. And I said, obviously a few things about the importance of the trust and the team, and, why I'm in the team and what I can do, and, how I can support. And I remember you came out and you said that this is the type of a speech that striked you, that somebody just like literally just like that with a single speech, connected with the entire room. And I think when you're in a team, I see a person who could do that. And the way you describe the leadership, I think there's more into it from you to be still presented, if that makes sense. And outside.
Yeah.
Not only just thinking about it. But the reason I'm saying this, it's because I just want to reach to the point where, you have a really good education. You've played in multiple leagues, and you've been one of the most important players within your teams. A lot of times we see players that either cut the come off the college and that's it. They just follow the sport. There's no time for education, but you still have a time for your family, for your self growth and things like this. How do you put that all together with your busy schedule?
Self-discipline.
Yes.
Schedules and self-discipline. I can even just I went back to school when the COVID began. I always wanted to further my education even more, and I had got into different aspects of like health and fitness. So I found a master's degree program in nutrition. So I did that while playing in when I was in Legia in Warsaw. So it was like 18 months that it took me to complete that. So like 11 of those months or something. So I was in season, like in one season. And we were traveling, playing 2 games a week. So it was definitely a lot. Lost some sleep, but yeah, just time management, self-discipline. I have a relatively organized mother who taught me good skills, and I'm happy for that in situations like that. But it's like prioritizing also, Yes. I mean, to a fault, I spend very little time on my phone. I have like average of like 2 hours per day, and that includes my YouTube yoga videos and stuff like that.
I'm not even gonna share like every Monday I get the little reminder. It just sends you the notification of the screen time, and I'm going delete. Don't even look at it.
Like in the summer, I'll challenge myself. Can I get under 2 minutes a day this week or something?
Really?
And I had to learn, I definitely wasn't always like this, absolutely not. But then since, my son was born, and I have this, stuff that I do online in terms of writing.
Because you have your own website as well.
Yeah. And I found partnerships with other journalists that have allowed me to, put some things into like bigger journals and things like that as well. So I
So
tried to.
it is about nutrition, health, and
Yeah, it started just like a blog when I was injured one year, and
Yeah.
it, like just step by step I grew it, and that's where the nutrition degree really kind of formed in my mind of something I wanted. I always had wanted to go back to school. I had a little bit of extra time because of COVID, and I was like, let's pick kind of like a specific something that I'm really interested in, but also will help me currently, because nutrition, I'm healthier, play better, play longer.
Absolutely.
Fits with the things that I like in my website, and also in, let's say, a post-basketball career, whenever that comes. It's just the field itself, I think, is important for the world. So if I'm going to learn something, I'm going to do something that maybe I can make a positive impact in the world at a certain point in time.
So you sort of, read in my mind, or unless you read my questions, because you sort of reached to the next one that I actually wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Every day you have to face some kind of situation where you have to make or commit to certain decisions, right? And one of those decisions will be in, I hope, far future, but you never know, to commit to something post-basketball. Do you have any idea what you're going to commit to, or have you already said something? Well, obviously the website and the contrast of going into the healthy and sport nutrition and things like this. But do you have already said anything specifically what you're going to do post-basketball?
I have several ideas, and that's the way that I, let's say, started this website is like almost 8 years ago now.
Okay.
The way that I started it was that when I retire, it will be ready to bring me my next step. And so what I did with it is I developed some like small like passive income streams, just some marketing, digital marketing, affiliate marketing, fun things like that. But also I wanted it to be somewhat of like a portfolio for myself in terms of my knowledge and what I can bring to, if I want to work in something like health journalism, health, reporting, these types of things, because I have a communications undergraduate degree. And the other step of this would be in which I'm like year by year a little bit more interested in, is to take myself and bring myself to like a public policy role in something in the government, just for see what I can do to improve our outrageous spending on our healthcare system, our poorly functioning healthcare system. And that's where I see like so much of the knowledge that I've learned throughout my career I've traveled to 30, 40 countries around the world. I've seen, met people, seen people, learn how people live, how people eat, why people are healthier, aren't healthier. And that type of just knowledge and experience combined with education.
So that's where, at the beginning, the word ambassador came from.
It all comes together, and that's what it is. That's me. Like, things bridge together, and I do them strategically. So I try to do things that have overlap with other things of my life, and to be a well-rounded person. I always tried. I learned I can play 3-4 instruments. I can't do languages. I don't know. Someone's got to help. My wife speaks 3 languages. My son speaks 3. I speak 1.
You get in there with Polish.
It's because I always ended up in Slavic countries. I could learn Spanish probably in 6 months.
Adam, everything we discussed so far brings me to the last question.
Okay.
When my journey with coaching started back in 2009, I've done like a self-analysis to see what is my weakest skill, let's just say. And it came to the point that after many sort of movements of pages, writings and things like this, was that I qualified that my lack of persistence was the killer of everything I was doing in my life. Even though I was really committed with my sports. You know, I was doing whatever was required. And again, coming to the point, as I said, I was disciplined more than self-disciplined, but I had lack of persistence. And for over a year and a half, I took every single possible video, book, page about the persistence and put it together, my own description of, persistence. How persistent are you? And what do you think is the importance of persistence in accomplishing goals?
I think I'm incredibly persistent. I think when you have an 8-year-old kid who tests at an 80-year-old lung level when I was 8 or 9 years old, and I decided, you know what? No, I'm going to play even more sports and see. They might have me on 5 steroids when I'm 12 years old or something. I'm going to find a way. And I have, like, from then on, like, you know, I think I'm incredibly persistent. I think it's just incredibly important because persistence is even different than self-discipline, than management, than, you know, just having a good schedule or something. Persistence is passion, you know. It involves even stupid passion to a point that you probably should have gave up at this point. But that's when great people break through and do great things, when they reach the point of being actually persistent, not just being, you know, not just going after something, not just making a plan for something, because when you're persistent, your plan probably has failed sometimes and you rewrote it a few more times and you keep going.
And most of the times it's like, you know, when you're persistent, you're just not focused on things that are nice. You just do the things because they have to be done.
Yeah.
Adam, it's been a pleasure. And I really hope everyone who will watch this podcast will enjoy it. Adam, we have goal to chase this season.
Yeah.
And our next game is a couple days ahead.
Yeah.
But also, New Year's is a couple days ahead.
Yeah.
So, from myself, I wish you everything the best for New Year's and going further. And I hope all your dreams will happen.
Thank you.
Sports and personal. And I hope everyone enjoyed this today. And we will talk again. So appreciate my invitation.
Thank you so much, and have a happy New Year to you. And I wish you. What do you want me to wish you?
You got me here. You know what? Having the same or even more energy than I have, and you know I have a lot of energy.
Then I hope in this year you have. I hope you have even more energy this next year.
We need it. We need it. Adam, thanks again for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.